Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm really well. I'm really well. How's things with you?
Yeah, really good. I've just literally just got in from a wellness day, so I'm feeling pretty chilled right now. So,
Oh wow, amazing. That's
yeah,
just what we need, isn't it? Hang on, who's it? It's gonna be glasses on, glasses off tonight or not.
it's fine. Are you getting a reflection from the screen with them?
I am, but last time this is only, I'm gonna confess completely, this is only the second time I've done a live, and the
Okay.
first time apparently I was practically pressed up against the screen. So I just thought rather than do that, I'll wear my glasses. I've got a
Yeah,
better chance of seeing you.
yeah. It's a good idea. Um,
Cool, cool, cool.
how's it going over there?
Do you know what? It's not too bad. We've had the snow, we've had the rain, we've had the wind, we've had blue skies today. Um, so who knows what's going to happen next? So yeah, it's not too bad. So what about you?
Yeah, it's
Beautiful
all
snow.
right. Yeah, it's been a bit overcast today, but yeah, we've had lots of snow last week and mainly blue skies this week, so it's been gorgeous. So
Okay.
it's been nice.
Yeah, just what you want. And if you've had a wellness day, how brilliant's that?
Yeah, I thought we were gonna have to cancel it with all the like restrictions, but they're still allowed to operate with it. But it was a private event, and
Right.
it was all kind of precautions were taken properly, and yeah, and obviously mental health is a massive kind of issue at the moment. So yeah, it's quite important.
Yeah, cool. Completely, completely. And it's interesting as well with what we're going to talk about today, how much sort of stress sort of runs through it, and if actually we haven't sort of dealt with that, then
Yeah,
our particularly our menopausal symptoms can actually be sort of made worse, and it also has a knock-on effect with your thyroid. So yeah, so it is so important
yeah,
just for
definitely.
sort of, yeah,
I mean,
cool.
I've probably only been doing this kind of the yin yoga and the meditation properly for about just under a year, and the difference it's
Right.
made is just phenomenal. I would never have thought it could make that much of a difference. So,
Yeah, it's finding your thing as well, isn't it? It's finding the thing that actually works for you and resonates with you. I was
yeah,
chatting yesterday to, oh gosh, she's the most phenomenal woman ever. She is well retired. She's in her late 60s. She's won sort of tri events for England across Europe, and she's now got an injury, and obviously can't train and has been doing yoga and was very resistant to it to start off with. I'm not going to see the benefit, and
yeah,
everybody's gone, you know what, you will just think, there's ladies that only do yoga and how phenomenally fit they're there, and they've got the strength of people, women that would lift. And she's been doing it for about 6, 8 weeks now, and she's gone, oh, I can start to see what you're all on about now.
yeah.
Which
It's
is
much more physical and much more kind of challenging than like you would ever imagine. If you've never done it before and you just watch somebody doing it, doesn't look like they're doing a great deal.
Do you
But
know
yeah,
what? Exactly. And particularly some of the older ladies, you look at them and go, oh, it's just they've just got one leg in the air. That's all it is, one leg in the air. You try and do that and hold it. It's the
yeah,
sweat's running off you. You're shaking, going, do
yeah,
you know what? I can't do this. Yeah,
exactly.
completely. Pilates is exactly the same. It looks like nothing. My God, what a workout is that? But yeah,
Yeah.
completely,
Yeah, I was completely
completely.
resistant. I mean, I would say when I was younger, before not before, but kind of during the early years when my autoimmune stuff hadn't really been diagnosed, I was definitely burning the candle at both ends, kind of working really like long, ridiculous hours, stressful job, and all my exercise was like to the wall or nothing. It
Yeah,
was, yeah, there was nothing kind of gentle. There was nothing, and it was just like it just burnt me out completely.
yeah,
But I was
yeah,
super
completely.
resistant to kind of things like yoga. I was like, no, that's not for me. I love it
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
completely. I'm seeing that with some of the ladies that I work with that are sort of older, a lot older than a lot older than you. That have maybe got a little bit of weight gain through menopause and are actually pushing themselves and adding more and more exercise classes on, because actually they're not seeing the results that they think they should be seeing with the amount of exercise they're doing. And trying to sort of like pick that and sort of explain, do you know what, with exercise is that sweet spot, isn't there? Yeah. Which is brilliant, because we need to do it. It's great at sort of completing that stress cycle. So that's, you know, we need to do that to sort of close that off, you know, fill us full of those happy hormones. But actually, if we go past that, we start to put even more stress on our body, so we don't get the results that we want. So yeah. Completely.
I see it exactly the same with like clients who with the thyroid, and obviously weight gain is commonly an issue with thyroid disorders, and it's the same. They're kind of restricting their calories. They are like exercising like as much as they possibly can, kind of 5-6 times a week, really high intensity exercise, and kind of coming to me and asking, why am I not shifting the weight? Why is it kind of, why am I even putting more weight on? It's not going, I'm putting more on. Why is this?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, completely. It's interesting because I'm just throwing myself completely in at the deep end and doing some like my own. So hopefully I can work the tech on Saturday, and that's what we're looking at. And we're looking at restorative exercise and weight loss at menopause. So rather than taking that flip completely. But yeah, interesting what you were saying about burnout. And I think that whole thing of, I was thinking, you've pretty much got a health bank, haven't you? And we are very tempted, and we do it because we've all done it. I've done it. Burn the candle at both ends, because actually we spring back, don't we? So you can do all of that sort of like, oh, I'm going to add another class, sort of in your 20s and in your 30s. I'm going to add another class. I'm going to work through the night. I don't need to sleep. Do you know what I mean? Because that's the only thing I can cut out, because I want to juggle everything. And then we get to the point where we don't bounce back, and then we get to the point where actually we're completely burnt out, and that can become a massive shock, can't it? Because we've been just able to get on for such a long time. So and
that's exactly what I found. It's like I couldn't recover and didn't know why. I wasn't sleeping, kind of had really bad insomnia, and like I said, busy all the time. Never thought to kind of take like a day to myself to relax, to kind of chill out. It was just constant, non-stop, and obviously it's just obviously tanking my adrenals. Kind of, they were just on the go all the time, kind of trying to keep up with what I was doing, to the point, like you say, where they just couldn't anymore.
Yeah, completely. And I think then, thinking about menopause in particular, we've got so much going on. It's not just about those sort of, you know, those 3 sex hormones that we think about. It does have such an impact on particularly cortisol, and then cortisol has a knock-on effect, doesn't it, with our thyroid?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then estrogen, it's just, I always think of it, it's a bit like the big sister that looks after everybody. Do you know what I mean? She keeps cortisol in check. She keeps sort of our pancreas cells in check. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But once those are sort of not in check anymore, it's a bit like a party, isn't it? It's this like wild teenage party that they all want a bit of a rebel. Oh yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to do what we want for a little while until everything settles back down. And I think that can come as a massive shock as well. That actually there's more going on than just actually our estrogen levels bombing. Just bombing. Yeah.
I mean, I know just from the thyroid, that if your cortisol kind of levels are continuously kind of like elevated, it slows down your thyroid hormone production for your active thyroid hormone, for your T3, and it increases your reverse T3. So it slows your metabolism down. It makes you tired. Gives you the brain fog. It kind of causes the weight gain. You'll start to see digestive issues. It just if you're constantly on that stress kind of system, you're just not you're not doing your thyroid any favors whatsoever.
No, and then sort of like say when we get to the menopause, when all of those things happen, and then we get where we're not regulating our temperature.
Yeah.
That's where we get the flushes or the night sweats, or the opposite, where we get actually it's not night sweats we get. It's actually our extremities get really cold and having to deal with that. So yeah. So it's like this whole orchestra of things, isn't it, that sort of need to be thought about. And I think that's why, particularly at menopause, there's a lot of myths, isn't there, around menopause that, you know what, like say hot flushes are the first sign of it. But actually it depends on what else is out of balance to what the symptoms are gonna look like. And I know personally, I only ever had one it wasn't even a hot flush, it was a night sweat. They're slightly different in timings, the length of time that you have them. So hot flushes tend to come very quickly, you get the burning, and then they sort of drop quite quickly. Where night sweats usually happen on a night, but not always, but they're longer. So they can last for 10, 15 minutes or maybe longer than that. And I know I only ever had one, and it was literally while I was presenting to a whole hall full of early years teachers in my previous job. And I could feel myself heating and heating and heating. And then the sweat started pouring. And I'm like, I'm not one of those hot, sweaty girls. Yeah, in the gym, it'll happen, but not when I'm just delivering something. And it was the bizarrest feeling ever. But I was well into, it was like in that 12-month period, when you were just, we know that that's the menopause bit. But it was like, what on earth is this? So I'd had other things. So anxiety, I had previously not put that down to menopause. I had put that down to stress, burning the candle at both ends, and also that whole, sometimes the situation we find ourselves in, so we can busily put blame to symptoms where it actually isn't. And I think that's the thing as well, isn't it? That thyroid, menopause and stress symptoms are very sort of mashed together, and it's working out which is the cause. And what's our body trying to tell us? Is it, say, if it's thyroid, then that is sort of a medical problem. If it's menopausal, that is natural. Do you know what I mean? And if it's stress, that's environmental. So it's like, why are we getting the reactions that we're actually getting?
Trying to pick it all apart and work it all out. It's really quite a puzzle sometimes, trying to kind of figure what symptoms are coming from where.
Completely. And I think that's the joy of the work that we do as well, isn't it? And I think that's the thing about sort of working sort of one-to-one with clients, is that that's what we look at. We look at the bigger picture, don't we? And it's not this is a symptom, so this is how we will deal with the symptom. It's actually, we look at that much bigger picture, and actually what's that telling us, and is it telling us what necessarily the person thinks it is, or if there's something sort of much deeper seated than that. So,
definitely. It's one of the reasons I do like I'm sure you probably do the same, with like full food diary and symptom analysis and a health questionnaire, kind of to get a full picture of exactly what is going on, kind of. So it could be an emotional issue, it could be something you're eating, it could be, like you say, something you're doing, like too much exercise or not enough exercise, or there's kind of a multitude of things. And doing that whole kind of system at the beginning when you deal with a client, it really helps you kind of get to the bottom of what's going on.
Completely. And I think as well, it sort of with the person as well, I think actually seeing it all written down and actually having that person sort of turn it around and go, wow, do you know what, you've had all of these things have been going on, and adding a layer upon a layer upon a layer. So it's actually no wonder sometimes we get to where we are, because we've actually, added something, added another burden, added another symptom. We've done all of these things, and then we've got to this point where it's like, oh my God, our body's going, I've given you clues. I've given you clues for a long time.
It's very rarely just one thing that's kind of causing it. It's like you say, it's usually like a multitude of things like layered on top of each other that kind of, it's like not one trigger alone that's kind of caused the whole problem.
Yeah, completely.
So you think, what other common symptoms do you usually see with women with like menopause? And kind of, obviously you mentioned the anxiety and the kind of hot flushes. What other symptoms do you see them complaining of?
A lot of my ladies actually come. It is weight. A lot of ladies, it is weight related.
Yeah.
Because for a long time, sort of their bodies have responded in a certain way, and they've stopped responding. And actually, sometimes the menopause weight gain can feel very quick. And there's a few things that is going on there for that weight gain. So some of it is that drop in estrogen and just how we store our body fat. So actually, we've not gained weight. What we've done is redistributed it. So where it used to be, say, on our bottoms and our thighs and our hips, sort of ready for sort of, childbearing, it goes and it shifts to our tummies. So, and I think as well, if you see much older ladies, quite often they haven't got a bottom, have they? They haven't got legs, got little skinny legs and a little non-existent bottom, but they've got a little tummy. So we've got that with estrogen, and also that little bit of tummy allows some estrogen still to be produced. So actually, it's our body hanging on to a little bit of it to save some of those protective elements. And that's the thing with estrogen, it is very protective, and that's why we get a lot more, it seems all of a sudden, where we can be prone to heart disease, type 2 diabetes, we can have problems with our bones, and obviously we can have more problems with our bones if our thyroid isn't sort of working as it should be. We're likely to have hip problems, aren't we, and breaks there. So we've got the estrogen and that just moving things around. If we haven't got cortisol and our stress hormones in check, which again, a lot of them haven't got those hormones in check because they're living hectic lives or empty nesters. So they're actually at midlife going, I've got to this point, what do I do now? So there's a lot of that as well. So if cortisol isn't in check, that is it is our stress response thing, isn't it? So what it does is it stops things like digestion, doesn't it? Because it puts everything into, oh my God, I've either got to run away really quickly or I've got to fight this thing. And so it puts fat or energy into our stomach as well. So we've got cortisol there popping a bit of weight on. We've got potentially issues with thyroid and how we metabolize our food. So we've got digestive issues as we age. And I can say it because I'm a lady of an age, you're not. But our digestive systems don't work as well as they used to. So then we've got things like low stomach acid. We've got sluggy digestion. We might have problems of gut issues. So actually how we take up energy from our food can be very, very different. So what we were eating normally, we might be taking more energy out of that and restoring it. I think also we've had maybe years of yo-yo dieting and getting away with it. So we're nutrient deficient and our body is thinking she's going to starve me again soon. So I'm going to keep as much as physically possible because I know her game. So we've got that going on. Oh my God, there's just heaps of things that are potentially going on. Sleep gets disturbed. We're more likely in menopause to have sleep apnea. So if we've got disturbed sleep, then that sort of has a knock-on effect with the hormones linked to hunger and satisfaction. So we can be hungrier and craving the wrong food. So we're potentially eating differently and more than we used to. And then we can become insulin resistant as well because of the drop in estrogen. So we're maybe not as good at regulating our blood sugars, and we get that roller coaster, we get tired, so we eat something to lift us up. So there's a lot of things going on, but they're just sort of some of the things when we unpick it that is the sort of problem there. So I know you're saying about the low stomach acid. That's really quite common with Hashimoto's as well. And obviously
you need your stomach acid to digest kind of your food. You need it to release your digestive enzymes so you can break your food down and kind of absorb your nutrients. You need it to release your things like bile, so to kind of help with fat kind of breakdown. So yeah, if your stomach acid kind of drops, it can cause quite a lot of digestive issues, which can then, if things are taking longer to get through your system, it can be causing damage and potentially like leaky gut kind of and reactions to food. And again, that's going to give you brain fog. It's going to give you fatigue, kind of possibly like muscle and joint pain. It can, just that one simple thing can have quite a massive impact on the rest of your health.
Yeah, completely. And I think that's sort of one of the first things to sort of think about and get right, because there's no point, you can put the best diet in, you can eat sort of the most amazing nutrient-rich diet, but actually if your digestive system isn't actually breaking down, metabolizing it, and actually detoxifying and getting rid of it properly, then it's sort of a waste of time, isn't it? And you're right, all those symptoms, particularly brain fog, bloating, you know, all of those things are really sort of linked to that whole digestive process. And
it obviously, that slows your digestion, slows down, it slows your liver down, that impacts your hormones, like obviously your liver detoxes your hormones, so if your liver's struggling, it's not doing that properly, and that kind of gives you an even bigger hormone imbalance, which kind of then impacts everything further.
And also, it's unfortunate, but for a lot of women, either say come and they're not on any medication at all, or the complete opposite, where they're on 6, 7, 8 different types of medication, which again, the liver's got to deal with all of that, as well as the changes in hormones that it's got to deal with. And you know, those medications can interact and they can deplete us of nutrients as well that are needed for that whole process.
Because your liver will your liver uses about a third of your kind of body's entire energy each day, and if it's not functioning, it needs even more. So that's your energy it's stealing. If your liver's it's got to find it from somewhere. So that's then you're struggling to do other things to absorb. The nutrients are being like used for the liver to detox and not for you to perform normally.
Exactly. So there's a question on there. Can you see it?
Yes. Sarah said that when we were talking about the kind of low stomach acid and the kind of the bile and the digestive enzymes, she was saying that it's interesting that she's sure her mum has this problem and she's now got gallstones. Yeah, it's quite common. It kind of slows kind of the production of your bile down. It thickens the bile. It can it can really impact and cause things like gallstones. So
everything sort of gets a bit sludgy.
Yeah. But
also, we find.
Sorry,
go on. Sorry.
No, it's something that's usually fairly easy to correct with like some quite simple dietary changes.
Yeah, completely. And there's some actually lovely foods that you can include that will support the gallbladder. So completely. Yeah. Interestingly, I don't know about you, but I see a lot of women that have had their gallbladders removed. And obviously that then causes digestive problems sort of later on in life, because they haven't got that sort of surge, have they, to break down the fats. They've got that constant joy.
It can cause quite a few knock-on problems. So. And again, like you say, you can kind of get around that with dietary. Oh, there you are, Sarah saying they want to remove her gallbladder.
Yeah, I think because you're in excruciating pain if it's blocked. And I think it's that thing of actually getting to the point of actually sorting it before it gets to that point, and actually it is that looking at the whole person and actually what you can do to support them, rather than go, do you know what, I'm going to whip this out and then we will deal with the other problems later on. The amount of and it is because I do tend to work with women, and it is women that tend to have gallbladder problems, and quite often it's yo-yo dieting. So it's not that they've been eating a lot of fat in the diet, it's that they've gone from one extreme to the other, and it's the gallbladder isn't able to cope with that. But don't know about things like digestive enzymes and cutting foods out because they find them uncomfortable, or they've not even sort of made that connection, but over time have eliminated foods because obviously it's being uncomfortable, rather than actually find ways of including them, because fat in particular is so vitally important for so many functions. Not just the vitamins that we want that can only be absorbed because of fat, but just thinking about brain function, just thinking about what our brain is.
I totally agree. I see a lot of women that kind of, like you say, struggling to lose the weight, and they're cutting the fat out and they're restricting their calories, and kind of they're struggling then with their mood and kind of with depression. And you need those fats. Your brain's kind of like more than 60% like fat. You need the fat for your to coat your nerves, for your myelin sheath, so that they're firing properly. Fat is critically important, and if you don't have it, you will see mood issues. You will kind of it can cause a massive knock on. Obviously you've got to be eating the right fats when you're eating fats, like healthy fats, but low fat is really can cause a lot of problems.
Oh god, definitely. And we sort of now know, don't we, why we've had that whole low fat myth of, because it's particularly in sort of the UK, where it was a cereal was sort of the main crops, and that's sort of one of the reasons, isn't it? But we now know, don't we, the impact of sugar, and actually sugar is if you have excess sugar, it is basically your liver converts it stores it as fat. So it's not the fat that's causing the fat storage and the weight gain, it's the sugar that's causing the fat storage. But that's not really very well kind of publicized at the moment. It's still kept quite quiet. It is, completely. And Sarah's totally agreeing.
She's saying, I think that was about her mum. I think they want to remove her mum's gallbladder, and she didn't think that's a good idea. And obviously we said, there's obviously ways around that. Things you could try before you go to that level.
Yeah, definitely. So definitely.
What else have we got? So I had some questions come in. I don't know if you want to have a look at some of them. So one of the first questions I was asking was, why do women particularly start to feel fatigued when they hit menopause? And obviously some of this we've already probably touched on.
I think it's that mixture of things, isn't it? So it can be first of all, where the drop in progesterone has an influence on sleep, so that's one of the first things. Then things like sort of stress can have an influence on sleep. Again, when estrogen drops, we can be more, so I'm trying to think of the word, sensitive to pain. So actually, we can just have more aches and pains, and it can be really uncomfortable to sleep. We sort of touched on our whole digestive system can slow down, so actually we can be going to bed and still processing food, and then we wake up in the middle of the night, ding, and it's actually our liver's gone, right, okay, I've finished that, I'm ready for the next job. So we've got that. Also, there's lots of knock-on effects. Sort of, we can have problems with our bladder, we're more likely to get recurring UTIs and things like that. We're more likely to need to get up in the middle of the night and pee if you're not sort of like, do you know what I mean, if you haven't sort of factored that in. Hang on a minute, I did write some notes because I know what happens. I get part way, Helen,
your brain just goes blank.
My brain just goes, hang on a minute, 2 minutes
I get exactly the same.
And I didn't want to go, do you know what, because somebody had asked the question, hadn't they? And
Yeah, I'd put down obviously the gut kind of obviously plays a massive impact in your sleep, and if you're not sleeping, it's going to impact your energy levels. If you're burdening your liver, it's going to unbalance your hormones, which again is going to lead to fatigue because your liver's having to work much harder.
Yeah, completely.
And
I
then
think there's also been... Sorry, go on. Sorry.
Oh, no, it's fine. Yeah, I was going to say, and if then your hormones are out of balance, that's impacting your thyroid, because you, like, quite often your cortisol's gone up, your T3 production has gone down, your reverse T3 has gone up, and that slows your metabolism down. So that's again lowering your energy even further.
Yeah, completely. We can sort of we then put things into place during the day if we've got low energy. So we think we use sort of caffeine and sugar. So sort of caffeine can have that effect on one of your sleep hormones, can't it? It sort of locks the receptors. I think we've got change in seasons where we've got the lack of exercise. So sometimes it's actually we've not done enough in the day.
Yeah.
I think as well, it can be that we're not stimulated enough. So and I think we're seeing like more and more now with this third lockdown where people are actually just very bored and it's just very sort of exhausted with the whole situation that's going on. So that can influence sleep. We've also got the sort of changes in sort of like the light. So at different times of the year, our sleep can be very, very different. So there's lots and lots of different things that it can be.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is hinged down to sort of those hormones sort of being out of balance, hot flushes, waking up with those, sleep apnea, which we're more prone to, different sleeping positions because we're actually in pain, so we might not be getting the quality of sleep. Poor sleep routines, that's another thing. Do you know what I mean?
Massive, yeah. And I must
and
say
then,
sorry. That's probably one of my weakest areas is my sleep routine, I would say.
But you're juggling a lot at the minute, so I did exactly the same. When I was working full-time and studying full-time, the only thing that can give is sleep. So that's sort of like what I did. I worked till 2 a.m. and had 4 hours sleep.
I guarantee the days that I have proper sleep, the day after I feel like I can do anything. And I think this week I had, like, Tuesday night I really didn't sleep well, and Wednesday I was absolutely useless. I didn't have the brain fog back, but I kind of felt like slow and sluggish. Like when I was trying to work, I couldn't kind of concentrate, and just that kind of difference in sleep made a massive, massive difference the next day. Yeah, completely.
So so I think there is quite a lot of things, isn't there, that sort of are juggling to keep us away. And then there's minerals, isn't it, that we can be really depleted of, that actually we need more of. So I think particularly sort of magnesium is one of them, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So
magnesium is quite common that people don't get enough in their diet, and especially with like the soil quality now, it's quite lacking in our foods. So, and we need quite a lot. And if we're stressed, we use more magnesium, kind of.
Exactly.
If you're sweating and having hot flushes, you're going to be kind of excreting that magnesium as well. So it's quite common for it to be low.
Exactly. And I think that's where things like Epsom salt baths, and they sound very old-fashioned, but actually Epsom salt baths, particularly sort of when we're chatting like this, because we don't know what else is going on in people's bodies, so we can't go, do you know what, like 15 milligrams of this and 20 milligrams of that, and all will be well, because it doesn't actually work like that, does it? Everybody's very, very different. But the one thing about Epsom salt baths is that, you know what, pretty much everybody can sort of get in there and soak. It's not going to do any harm. It's going to just do a lot of good. And perfect if sleep's a problem, if you've got restless legs, again, if you've got migraine linked to sort of menopause, if you've got any muscle aches and pains. So if you're sort of like, you know, you picked your exercise up and you're thinking, oh my God, like a lovely soak in the bath. And it's a perfect excuse, isn't it?
Yeah.
You need to be there for 20 minutes.
Yeah, I take my book. It's like that's what I'll be doing this evening later after this.
Yeah.
Is magnesium bath with a bit of lavender essential oil and kind of my book, and just relax and chill out for like half an hour.
Perfect. And I'm terrible because I've got some LED lights. So I've got the LED candles, and I never put I'm northern. I never put the big light on. I only ever put my twinkly lights on. So it's that thing of like setting the scene, isn't it? So it's like I'm in here, I'm going to be in here a while, and I'm just relaxing.
Yeah.
So yeah, completely. And I think that's the one thing that I would say. And if you're not a bath person, you can get it in a gel, or you can get it in body butter. So topically, get it on as much magnesium as you can.
Yeah. Or quite often especially in the summer, if it obviously I don't want a hot bath, I'll quite often sit and have a like foot bath with a magnesium in.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect.
But just to I use the candles when I'm having a bath, but the last one I did, I managed to set fire to my hair. So.
Oh my God.
Yeah. We'd been traveling for work, and I came back and I was really tired, and for some reason I always put my hair up and I'd forgot, and then I lit the candle closest to me first and then leant over to light the others, and my hair just went up.
Oh my God. So yeah, I'm not safe. LED ones, that's what you need, Helen. Yeah. Just pretendy ones, twinkly.
Yeah, exactly. So I couldn't believe it.
That's just for the sort of thing that I would do. The sort of thing I
do. So we did, I think one of the other questions we got was, why can't they lose the excess weight, and why do they keep piling it on? And obviously we addressed quite a lot of that. Is there anything else you wanted to add into that? I've obviously
No, sorry, you go on.
I was obviously mentioning about the calorie restriction. We mentioned previously that people, their first kind of port of call when they want to lose weight is to reduce their calories, and I find this really productive.
Yeah, completely.
So your body kind of goes into like starvation mode and thinks it's being starved, so your brain says basically hold on to that, because you're going to need that, because we don't know when we're going to get the next kind of energy, kind of like food provision, so just hold on to that, and it stores it as fat for you to basically convert into energy.
Yeah, completely. It's the same as cutting out whole food groups as well. You see that quite often.
Yeah.
And you know, depending, for a small minority of people, they need to do that. So if you've, I don't know, got SIBO or something like that, so if you've got that small intestinal bacteria overgrowth, there are certain foods that you do need to cut out for a certain amount of time, and that would be done under support and with the whole aim of actually starting to get foods back in your diet. I think we see that whole thing of, well, I'm not eating this and I'm not eating that, and certain foods get some really bad press, where actually it can be the amount that they're eating or the quality of the food that they're eating as well. So see that all the time, and people are getting a bit confused as well. You know, I've got friends that will talk about, oh, I'm not eating bread because it bloats me, but I'm having flatbread, and it's like, right, so it's not the wheat that's bloating you, there's a lot of that as well. So I just think this is the time where actually we need to be adding as much nutrient value as physically possible. And it is a good time to start sort of like looking at what we've done before and actually going, do you know what, that hasn't worked, or I've now got the repercussions of that, and making sure that you are eating enough, you are having all of those minerals that you need. If you are taking certain medication, so certain medication sort of deprives us of, I'm just thinking of things like coenzyme Q10, which is very common, isn't it? And that's why a lot of women have fatigue, particularly if they've had, chemotherapies or sort of treatment for breast cancer, and they get fatigue, and quite often it's to do with their body being robbed of sort of coenzyme Q10, which we need for energy. So sometimes it's super eating certain things to actually address the imbalances because of, you know, where we've left ourselves deficient, diseases or illnesses, and medication as well. So,
I quite often see as well a lot of people eating a lot of processed foods, a lot of kind of refined foods, which are really kind of nutrient kind of depleted. They have very little nutrition. So you're getting the calories, but you're not getting the nutrients. So your body's demanding more because it's basically not getting what it needs. So you end up eating way more than you really need to be eating because you're eating the wrong types of foods.
Yeah, completely. And not only have you got that excess calories and lack of nutrients, but then you've also got that extra strain that gets put on the digestive system and the liver to deal with it as well. Yeah, completely. And the amount of sugar that's hidden in things.
Yes.
Like we said, we touched on the low fat thing, didn't we? And that's what gets put into low fat products. So it could be artificial sweeteners, but it's still sugar.
It still does the same thing.
Completely. And I think that's another myth that needs to be sort of completely taken apart for people, because they'll drink, say, low calorie drinks or Muller light yogurt, and certain people who've been on certain diets will, my God, I know which diet she's talking about, where they could eat them in wild abandon. And it's like, have a look at the second ingredient. It's not actually good for you. It's putting in sugars that are actually going to give you a roller coaster of energy. Like, you know, it's stimulating your pancreas. It's giving you other issues. And
you're just having to deal with all that. It's it's got to process all that sugar. It's got to either use it or store it.
Yeah, completely. I think the other, I don't know, is it bookfire, is it whatever, is that extremes as well, of like people are on it or they're not on it. So that like cutting food right back and, you know, eating next to nothing and then going wild and completely overloading the system. And I think it's that thing of finding that happy balance, isn't it? And, do you know what I mean?
I know research is kind of showing that kind of yo-yoing with your weight is actually more damaging than kind of being overweight but being at a consistent weight. Kind of the up and down can cause quite a lot of stress on our body, a lot of kind of damage.
Yeah, completely. And also,
sorry.
No, sorry, go on. No, you go on.
I think the other thing we mentioned earlier as well was the exercise with the weight gain, and either people are not doing any exercise, which obviously we all know that you should be exercising, you should be moving. Kind of exercise actually kind of produces it gives you more energy. Basically, it improves the health of your mitochondria, which produce all your body's energy. But if you end up doing too much, like we were talking about before, it ends up raising your cortisol, which is your stress hormone, which then basically unbalances the rest of your hormones, and particularly your thyroid. So I quite often see that if kind of people who are struggling to lose weight, like we mentioned, that they just really hit it hard.
Yeah, completely. I think as well, if you've had sort of years of sort of basically keeping your body in deprivation and keeping yourself naturally slim, is it just that a little bit of excess weight is your body's natural set point? So actually it's where your body should have always been, because our bodies will try and get to the love balance, don't they? So they'll always try to get to that set point. And is it just that you've been fighting for all your life with your dieting and your mad exercises and your lack of sleep and all of those things to keep your body naturally lower than it should be? So is it just actually where you should be, but it's just bigger than where you've been in, say, your 20s or your 30s?
I would say that the early probably years with my illnesses, before probably I was diagnosed, my weight fluctuated up and down quite a bit. And a lot of that wasn't always weight. A lot of that was bloating from digestive issues. But I didn't realise that. I was just like, why do I keep putting this weight on? And kind of then it'd be gone, and then it'd be kind of back again. But when I changed, I had to go on the AIP protocol to kind of basically address some of like food intolerances and figure out what was triggering all my autoimmune stuff. And when I went on that and cut out the processed food and the sugar, my weight just kind of, it dropped to what is I now know is my natural weight, and I've reintroduced a lot of those foods, and it has still stayed there. It hasn't like shifted, because it's found its balance, and kind of like you said, just your body wants to be kind of where it is at its healthiest point.
Yeah, so, completely. Oh. Yeah, completely. So I think there's that in the mix as well. So yeah, you're completely right. I think as well, when people change their way of eating, and when we start to introduce some certain foods back. So if you're actually adding, say, more fibre back into your diet, that actually holds on to more water. So again, that fluctuation can actually be that you're much better hydrated than you were before.
Yeah.
Or that you've actually got more food for want of a better word, in your system. So actually you're a little bit heavier because actually the bowels are a bit fuller. So yeah, a lot of things.
Yeah, definitely. That's kind of one of the reasons I ask, like, if I'm working with a client and they're wanting to lose weight, I ask them not to kind of like be obsessed with the scales and to kind of measure themselves and go by how their clothes feel, because you can quite often see the scale doesn't move, but your clothes feel completely different. You have lost it. The weight has gone from different areas. You are slimming down, but it's not actually shown on the scales because, like you say, you're eating better food, so you're eating more fibre, your kind of bowels are fuller, and kind of, it's just, I've lost that track of thought now, I think.
Yeah, no, completely. Well, I've, for some of the ladies that I work with, I don't want these. I'm just going to say that and get that out there. But what I get them to do is take the photographs. So take photographs front, side and back. Yeah. Because I'm exactly the same as you. When they fill in their initial health questionnaire, they put the weight on, but it's just more just to get like an idea. And I don't hold that much stay by it either. Yeah. And I don't, even if they're weight loss, we don't talk about that. I don't want them on the scales. We don't do that. But what I do get them to do is take the photographs and just keep them. Yeah. And at regular points, and it's say 6 weeks, 8 weeks, have a look, take another photograph and put them together. And it's then you see the difference. Yeah. Because like if they're bloating particularly, has a massive impact on a person, because if you look in the mirror, that's what you see, isn't it? You see that sort of like that front view and think, oh my God, look. Or if you look down and you think, oh my, that's all I can see. Yeah. But then when you actually see the difference in the photographs, when you compare it side by side, you can think, God, right, okay, and it's usually that bit for a lot of the ladies that I'm working with, that little bit boobs to belly button that goes first. So you see that massive change there. Yeah. Like say, it might be a pound on the scales, but physically it's a massive difference. Yeah,
I was the same. I didn't notice the shift in the scales when I was kind of losing the weight, because I think I was starting to put muscle on that I'd struggled with whilst I was ill. So it was my clothes that kind of, I was like, oh, hang on, my jeans are really loose, and my kind of tops don't feel like tight and things like that. It was that was the thing I noticed first.
I think as well what comes with that is that mental lightness, and it's because you've got that healing in your gut as well, and I think sometimes you don't realise that as well. So that comes, doesn't it, as people almost see it as a bonus to actually eating well. It's like that lightness. And little things like, I can always tell how on point sort of they've been by glow. So you can see that glow in the skin and that brightness in the eyes. Yeah. And it's like you're cracking this, you're working on it, because I can actually see in your face that your systems are working.
Yeah. You can see that energy, that kind of vitality that comes back. Because I used to have that. I used to look in the mirror when I was really ill, and kind of I could see the flatness in my eyes. I could my skin was really pale and like translucent. And when I started to recover, I could see kind of like the spark come back in my eye. I had that energy, kind of the animation in my face. It was back, rather than just the like, oh, kind of, rather than just the how am I going to get through today kind of drained kind of look. It was like, right, okay.
Completely. All right.
So one of the other questions was, is there anything that in particular that causes night sweats and hot flushes, and what can they do about it? Is there anything they can do to kind of try and get around that?
So some of it is sort of linked to sort of thyroid hormones and changes there, isn't it? But also it can be sort of foods can trigger it as well. So it's knowing what your trigger is, and again, they can be very different for different women. So it can be spice, it can be sugar, it can be caffeine, it can be alcohol. So it's usually the usual suspects can actually make it worse, because basically what it's doing is it's upsetting insulin, which then has a knock-on effect with the other hormones. So stress, again, it's like my little drum at the minute. I think stress can be a massive trigger. I came across something this morning. I could actually put it in my Facebook group today to go, what do you think about this? Are you a socks on or socks off girl in bed? Because apparently sort of keeping your feet warm at night, you're less likely to have a hot flush, because actually it's how you that regulation of your your core temperature and your extremities. I think it's reduced stress, reduce the triggers, and there isn't a one thing, do you know what I mean, that would fix it. It depends on what is actually causing it. So is it the hormone? Is it hormonal? Is it a food trigger that's doing it? And
I know for the thyroid, obviously a lot of people struggle quite a lot with like the cold extremities, their hands, their feet. And I personally, when my thyroid kind of was really kind of out of control, I had I'd fluctuate very quickly from being like ice cold to like massive hot flushes where you could see it like come all up my face kind of thing. And I would say stress played a massive part into that whole thing and I wasn't even aware of that. It was like, why am I just suddenly getting this? And I don't have that now that I've kind of addressed those lifestyle kind of issues and made sure I'm sleeping, made sure I'm managing my stress, so doing using the techniques that I've kind of put in place.
Completely. And I think it's that thing of when you feel it coming on, it's actually sort of take that breath. And I know it is easier said than done, but actually try and sort of bring some of those stress hormones down. Use your breath. If you're in somewhere that you can't get out of the situation.
Just a little bit of deep breathing to kind of bring your cortisol down, get yourself off your sympathetic kind of nervous system and back onto your parasympathetic.
But unfortunately there's just not one thing. There's not one thing. So there's not a magic ingredient that will
it's like most things, it's usually like a multitude of things. It's not just the one. So
completely. We're just like a perfect jigsaw, aren't we? Everything slots together, and it's finding which piece it is or which pieces it is and trying to sort of address those. But just trying to see if I've put anything else. No. Is it thyroid or hypothalamus? So is it one of those? Is it a triggering food? Is it stress? And like I say, if it's bedtime, it's like that thing about thinking about layering, isn't it, as well? So making sure that, you know what, natural fibres and things that you wear as well. And layers in bed, because it isn't just during the day, is it? And quite often it's the night flashes, it's the ones that are going to wake you up, and they're going to be longer. So
and then the next question was, why does menopause affect your sleep, and how do you get a good night's sleep? And again, obviously we covered some of that, but
so I think we talked about our progesterone drop, so that's one of our biggest factors with sleep. We talked, didn't we, about digestion and actually that can still be churning as we're, you know, in our sleep, and like our liver sort of waking us up. It can be that we haven't properly eliminated our bladder or our bowels, so it's actually we wake up with that need to go to the toilet because we've lost some of the sensitivity there. Also, sort of with menopause, we are more likely to get problems sort of because we see that dryness with our skin, and we see that dryness and potential atrophy sort of the whole sort of vagina and the tubes to the bladder. So sometimes it's that's actually waking us up. Poor sleep hygiene. So actually, you know, not being in a regular routine, and I know it sounds really boring, but we're designed to stick to routines. Our body loves it because it keeps everything sort of in its sort of limits, doesn't it? So there is that. There is stress, and why is it when you actually lay down, your brain goes bing? So all the things that you've not thought about all day, and all of a sudden there. So I think if that's what you're like, then it's actually strategies for that. So that is part of your sleep routine. But is it that you do journaling? Is it that you do yoga nidra, which actually stops you really thinking because you've got to concentrate on, you know, thinking about the body parts and relaxing them? So it could be that. Also, it could be specific conditions. So it could be that it is just, let's say, sleep apnea. It could be that you have got changes in your weight. So if you're actually physically bigger, then you can have sort of like restless sleep because your body isn't resting as well. Things like having a cup of tea before you go to bed. It's like sometimes it's things like that, isn't it? If we get into that habit. So there's all of that going on. I think the crux of it is that we don't know exactly what it is that is causing, because insomnia is common in menopause, but it does usually settle down. Is it that we are deficient in magnesium? Because the likelihood is that if we are, then things like restless legs kick in, don't they, on a night? So is it that? Is it that, you know, our muscles are not suitably relaxed? Is it because we're using stimulants during the day to keep us full of energy, and then it is impacting with our that desire to sleep, that sleep pressure hormone? So is it caffeine? A lot of ladies that I sort of work with, you know, I'll have a treat at the end of the night.
Yeah, I was just about to say, your eating habits, and you're changing, like, maybe you're changing your appetites and your cravings and hunger if your kind of hormones are out of balance, and you're snacking late at night. That can be disturbing you during the night. Yeah, completely. So we've got those things going on. So it is that whole look at it, and is it the hormonal thing? Is it our sleep routines? Is it actually what we're eating? Is it our digestion? So it's having a look at looking at all of those things and working out which one it is. But you've got a free ebook out at the moment, haven't you? That's kind of dealing with sleep issues with sleep and how to get around it.
Yeah, I have. So what I'll do when this comes up, I'll put the link in for you. It's just 6 really simple steps. So some of them we'll have talked about. So it is about routine. It is about caffeine. So there's 6 really simple things that have worked again and again for the ladies that I work with, and then there's like a really simple like planner tracker at the back. So everybody's more than welcome to that. And I have got as well, if people want another ebook, and it has got 5 sort of nutrients that are important at menopause, and there's 10 ingredients and recipes. So people are welcome to that. They can if they come over to mine Instagram, it's in the link in my bio. So
I'll tag you in once I've kind of posted it onto my grid. I'll tag you in there so that people can come find you and sort that out. Yeah, that would be cool. But they're just there for people just to, and like I say, it's not
it's difficult, isn't it? Because we don't know the whole picture of, you know, what people's health is. But yeah, but that book's, it's recipes that I use again and again, and I use them, my clients use them again and again, and they're just dead easy. And they're all either veggie or vegan as well. So that's cool. That's just how, you know, for easiness. Yeah,
so
cool.
The last question I've got is to deal with like emotions and why they feel so anxious all the time, or why do they experience the mood swings? And again, have you got any tips of how they can deal with that?
I think a lot of the mood swings are to do with the roller coaster of hormone changes in hormones. So there is there's that is going on. I think also in midlife, it's that thing of menopause going, do you know what, that is the end of my fertile years. Do you know what I mean? So actually, where we maybe thought we had options have gone, or families have grown. So I think there's a lot of who am I? What's my role? What do I do now that's, you know, in effect something's been taken away. So what do I fill it with? So I think there's that as well. I think we've got that whole thing of, you know, we're more likely to have other things wrong with us. So as the estrogen drops, you know, we can get heart palpitations. That is really scary. Do you know what I mean? That's really scary. We can get aches and pains where we've never had aches and pains before. We can end up with chronic pain. We can end up with chronic fatigue. So I think all of these things can make us more anxious, because actually we've never had them before. The surprises. I think as well, our body can feel out of control, as if it doesn't even belong to us anymore, because it's unpredictable. So I think we've got that level of, oh my God, what is happening? Am I normal? All of this. So I think we've got that level of unpredictability. We've also got the chances of, because again, it's a female thing, if we're more likely to have, say, fibromyalgia. So we're more likely to be in pain. So again, that changing those hormones levels, increasing that stress. And we've got the stresses of life at the minute. So we're in the middle of what and when will it ever change? So we've got all of that. And then we've got nutrients that we can be deficient of as well. So I think, again, like we said, it can be a pick and mix of things. And I don't think it's ever any one of them. I know for me, I had a massive panic attack, and luckily I was going to the GP about something else, and he was like, right, Lesley, I'm going to give you an ECG, and I'm going, I'm having a panic attack, and it was the scariest, maddest thing ever, because it just felt like, do you know what, I'm a rational person, why is this happening to me? It didn't help that he was the gorgeous GP, where he had his head up my jumper. And he knew what I was training to, this was before I qualified, he knew what I was training to do. So there he is, Mr. Gorgeous GP, with his head up my jumper, going, my mate's on a keto diet, Lesley, what do you think of it? And I'm going, do you know what I mean? It's just like, stop it, there's too much going on in my brain, is melting. So sometimes it is actually, there's just far too much, and we just need to put something down. So yeah.
I would say I experienced a lot of those kind of things, with the thyroid being out of control, with the palpitations, and that alone can be really scary. It can feel like, oh, I'm having a heart attack, and
completely.
It can be quite scary, and that can cause a lot of like health anxiety of kind of, why is all this happening? Kind of, is it going to get worse? Kind of, is it ever going to go away? It can cause a lot of, and I deal with a lot of clients with those kind of issues. And like you say, learning techniques of how to manage that, to kind of manage your hormones, to manage your kind of stress, and like you say, your diet and things like that. And I'm actually putting together a challenge next week, and it's dealing with all kind of trying to get your happiness back, your mood kind of that's kind of like bottomed out and you're really struggling. Just really simple kind of techniques that can help get those things back. But it's things that I wasn't aware of kind of before I did all my studying. It was Yeah, I wasn't
Yeah,
aware of that, how much stress impacted it, and kind of how much my diet impacted kind of
yeah,
my symptoms as well as my stress.
yeah,
Yeah,
completely.
it kind of all plays in.
Yeah, it's like that horrible, like, vicious cycle, isn't it?
Yeah,
And like you say, it isn't it. It can start with, say, the hormone, but then all the other things contribute to it and just
yeah,
actually make this cycle even more vicious. So yeah,
yeah.
yeah, completely.
And it
And
can
I
be
think as
it can
well,
be really daunting and not really frightening to know like where to start. Like,
yeah,
yeah, you know you need to change things because obviously things aren't working for you, but where do you
yeah,
start changing those things? That can be the most daunting, I think, taking that first step of asking for help, of
yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
what I need to change, and I need someone to kind of show me. That can be quite,
Oh, yeah, completely. And I think as well, as women, we quite often our self-care skills are not very good. We put everybody else first, and we see self-care as really selfish.
yeah,
And do you know what I mean? We need to put everybody else's priorities before me. And I'm just reading a great book, and it's actually called Burnout, and they talk about the human giver. And I think, quite often it's those women that are human givers that give, give,
yeah,
give, 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 give. And they get to that point, a bit like we said earlier on about, your adrenals being completely empty. They've
yeah,
got to that point where actually everything is completely out of balance. So it isn't one thing, it's actually every bit.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? It's hormones, it's sleep, it's nutrition, it's where you are in the world. It's like even having, like you say, that time to do something for you. I think it's everything. And
yeah,
it can feel really, really daunting to
yeah.
actually step off and start to look after yourself.
Yeah, I find exactly the same. And I will say most of my clients are women, and
Yeah,
when they come, they are the bottom of the list. Everybody else comes first. They don't have time
yeah,
for themselves, and trying to explain that kind of, although it sounds counterproductive, taking that time out for yourself, it actually makes you more productive in the long run. It makes you more patient. It
completely.
kind of improves your mental health, your mood, and make you can concentrate better. You can actually achieve more in a shorter space of time because you're not kind of like frazzled, basically.
Completely. And I think as well, that's the great thing about working with somebody and working with sort of a health coach, nutritionist, nutritional therapist, is that thing of, like, I've got some of my ladies that send me messages going, well, Lesley said I have to turn my phone off at 8 o'clock. So when I've done various challenges before, that's been one of the things. Now
Yeah,
I'll send a message round at 7 o'clock, but I'm turning my tech off, and I'll get these messages going, well, Lesley said I can turn it off. And sometimes it's that, isn't it? It's actually somebody giving them permission to
yeah,
actually do that.
yeah,
So then it feels less selfish if
yeah,
somebody else has gone, you know what, Lesley or Helen said, this is what I
yeah,
need to do.
yeah, definitely. Yeah,
So yeah,
and I think that's the hardest. I find that's the hardest mindset to change with a lot of clients as well, is that they feel like they're being selfish. And I would say that it's something I've implemented a lot in the last year personally, is saying no.
yeah,
Because I've always been like, if people ask me to do things, I kind of just, yeah, okay, no problem, and just add more and more to kind of my
yeah,
schedule, to the point that I start
yeah,
to feel overwhelmed and anxious, and kind of then my motivation goes, and I start to feel quite down. And
yeah,
I've actually, this last 12 months, I've noticed a massive difference in just saying, actually, I'm really busy with what I've got on at the moment. I can't do that. Kind of, I'd love to help you out, but I just can't at the moment.
yeah,
And that has made a massive difference, just kind of basically balancing what's on my plate.
yeah, completely. And I think this, if anything, we can see this whole sort of situation that we're in a really negative way, but we can also see it as it's actually an opportunity, isn't
Yeah,
it? Because we've had certain things enforced on us. So it is actually that opportunity to actually step back and go, do you know what, I can't do that. And actually moving forward, I'm going to stop doing that.
yeah, yeah,
So I've seen that with sort of, I'm thinking of a couple of friends, one friend in particular that has always put everybody first and spends her weekends and when she's not working running around, like checking on various people. And she's not in her parents or her husband's parents' bubble. And I think, first of all, she found it, but now she's found it really, really liberating because she was so sort of consumed with what she was doing for other people. So it's
Yeah.
allowed her to step off.
Yeah.
And when she steps back on, she can do that with a level of choice rather than, you know what, this is what I've always done.
Yeah, like the need to please people, and the need to kind of feel like you're not letting people down. Kind of like if you don't put yourself first, at some point, like I said, you will burn out, and you won't be able to help anybody else.
Yeah.
So putting yourself first is not selfish.
Not at all. Not at all. Are you all right? Is that are we nearly there with the list, do you think, Helen? I think
Yeah.
Did they not pick you up? Did they not pick you up after an hour?
Have we been on that long?
Yeah.
Got a frog in my throat. Oh my gosh. Well, it still says we're live, so.
Yeah, exactly. I think we've got no problem with talking. I think that's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah. I think my voice is going to go, I think, so we're probably going to have to wrap it up.
Yeah. No, it's been great. It's been really great.
Yeah, thank you so much.
No, it's all right.
Taking the time. It's kind of really, really informative for people who are kind of struggling with their Hashimoto's, hitting menopause. They thought it got it all under control, and then all of a sudden it's kind of goes out of control again. And obviously I haven't been there yet, so I don't have that personal experience. So somebody like you who has that is great.
Yeah, completely. And what I've tried to do, because I think what's happened is the more that I seem to go along this path, I've started to collate information. So there's stuff, I've started to put stuff on my website. So like the basics, so menopause, what do we actually mean? Because there's a lot of confusion about that. So I'm starting to actually build a bank of resources. So, there's probably better explanations on my website if people want. And like you said, they know where we are, don't they? So, I can just sort of direct message either of us. And if we've forgotten something.
I'll put your details in the grid information so that people can reach out, and if they've got any questions or if they want to access your ebook with the sleep or
completely. They're more than welcome. So right, you go and get in your bath, but don't light your hair.
Hair up before I light the candles. Cool.
Oh, it's been brilliant, Helen. So lovely. So I hope you'll see you again soon.
Yeah, thank you very much.
No worries. I'll see you soon.
Yeah, bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.